Today's episode is a yummy, juicy episode for those of you who have struggled to create a sales process that feels doable. Today, I have the sales whisperer himself, Wes Schaeffer, who's going to be sharing just so many powerful nuggets about how to effectively sell and the way that he positioned things in this episode, y'all, it felt like as I was listening to him, like my spirit calmed down as and my perspective shifted in a way to where it felt like, hey, this doesn't have to be as hard as we as entrepreneurs make it on our selling journey. And so I want you to get ready to take some really great notes as we talk about the ABCs of selling. And you may have heard that before, but the way that Wes positions it, it's totally different. It's not the traditional ABCs of selling, and that's why this is going to be a very great episode for you to shift that perspective. And I will tell you, and I just want to give you just a quick warning, the way he's such a professional, the way that he positions things in this interview, it's going to feel like there's just a conversation that is happening, but during that conversation, there are a lot of gems that's being dropped, and I tried to do a really great recap to help you to capture those gems without you just overlooking them as like, oh man, that was just a really empowering conversation, but where you were able to really grab hold of the practical side of it so that you can apply it to your business. So get ready to put your good ears on and to go deep. And as you're going deep, think into it and say to yourself, like, as you're listening, say, is these things that I am already doing in my business? If so, is this something that I can refine to make my process a little easier and a little more efficient to increase my conversions? And is there some things that I can shift within myself to become a more effective salesperson? Those are some things that I want you to take into consideration as you're listening to this episode. Y'all, without further ado, let's get ready for Wes Schaeffer.
What's up, leader? Welcome to the Gifted Entrepreneur Show, the dopest podcast on the planet that explores the world of Christian entrepreneurship and reveals secrets to unlocking your unique codes to create generational wealth. I'm your host, LaDondra Hervey, wife, mom, award-winning author, and Christian business coach who's excited to take you on a transformational journey of taking bold steps to unlock your unique gifts and pursue your entrepreneurial dreams with unwavering faith. Buckle up. It's time to make your dreams of creating generational wealth a reality. Hey, 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 what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Gifted Entrepreneur Show, the entrepreneur show that focuses on helping you to unlock the codes to creating generational wealth and do it God's way. Y'all, I am super excited today because we don't normally have too many guests, but the Lord has us in a different season now. And I have a special guest that is coming on today, and he's going to be talking about some things that I know many of you struggle with because you've told me, like, this is not something that we're guessing at. This is something that we've had a conversation about. We've had surveys on, we've done all the things. So we know that this is something that some of you look at it, and when we think about sales, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not the person, I'm not qualified for it. Sales suck. Then you have those who maybe you're like, okay, I feel confident when I go in the room, but I don't know what to say afterwards. Well, can I tell you something? I got a big surprise. We got the sales whisperer on. Like, isn't that cool? We have the sales whisperer who is on today. And so my guest today, our guest, is Wes Schaeffer. And y'all, I want y'all to hear his bio. It is awesome. Okay. So Wes Schaeffer is the business fixer. He sees the message you want to convey, but can't find the words and give them to you because if you don't toot your own horn, there's no music. He's a belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And wait, no, that's not how you say that. Jiu-Jitsu. And y'all, I've always wanted to do it, but I'm not too old, so I'm going to do it. And the president of his HOA. So mow your lawn and pay attention to what this AF veteran, father of 7 and grandfather of 3 has to say. He's written a couple of books, spoke around the world, published over 700 podcasts. That's so cool. And listen to this. Was once duct taped to a bar in Korea. What? Which we can you talk? First of all, welcome, Wes. That is an epic bio. First of all, so how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. You weren't supposed to read that last sentence. You said you would leave that out. I mean, but okay, the cat's out of the bag.
Okay, which one? The which we may or may not talk about. Which one? Which part?
No, it's all. I got a picture somewhere. I'll have to dig it up. I'll be in
Yeah,
duct
because
tape to
I'm
the
like,
bar. That was
what?
before social media, but we actually would go and print those things, so there's like eternal proof.
Yeah, you can't get rid of that at all. It's there. Wow, what an incredible story in just a few sentences. Father of 7. Thank you for your service. Like there's so many incredible things here. Being duct tape, what it and then over 700 podcasts. That is amazing. I remember my grandmother, she has 7 kids. And so like I'm the next in that lineage. And so I grew up in that household. My uncles, aunties, they called me like their little sister. But with that being said though, I'm like, Mimo, like what were you thinking? Like how did you manage that? Like, how did this work? I have the same question for you. Like, what's the secret sauce? I struggle with too.
Yeah. My secret is I married well.
Mm, that always makes the difference. Always makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, my wife's been home for 29 years, and we homeschooled about 15 of those years, and we still got 2 at home, and she's a trooper. Um, she can stretch a nickel, good times and then bad, and she's a trooper.
I love that. And that makes all the difference. That's good stewardship. That's great stewardship. And I
Oh yeah.
feel like, a lot of times, and again, our audience is mostly women. Sometimes women can look at that role as like an unimportant role. That is the most important
Mm,
role. Like you are building
yeah,
leaders, the next generation of leaders, and
yeah.
the ones who are going to take the next spot. So I take my hat off to her as well. So kudos to you guys. And then the last thing I'm going to say on this bio before we jump into some things, HOA. When I read that, I just bust out laughing because I just had to fix my fence because the HOA was like, but remember, we just had weather. And so it's like, I'm like, guys, can y'all give me a moment? It literally just happened. And now I got stuff already coming by email. So you're that guy.
Hey, no, I I replaced that guy.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate that.
Because everybody says somebody should do something about it. Well, guess what? You are that somebody,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And people, again, they think something doesn't matter. It matters who's on the PTA. It
It
matters who's
does.
on the HOA. It matters who's a volunteer on the social committee for the HOA. It all matters. You can't be sitting around, well, I'm too busy. Well, I got 7 kids. Are you busier than me? I don't think so.
Yes.
We make time for what's important. And so during COVID, they locked down our pool.
Mm,
Okay. Because the board was all older people.
yes.
And so they
That's
had
how
no
our board
kids at
is.
home. They didn't use the pool. So the safe thing was to shut it down. And I
Mm,
said, help me understand this. There's a big sign, no lifeguard on duty. You assume the risk of injury and death
Yes.
when you step foot inside these gates. I'm like, I can drown. That liability is protected,
Mm.
but if I get COVID, we're liable. Like, help me understand that. So 4 of us ran for the board, and 3 of us won, and we took over. I've been in almost 3 years now.
Oh, I need you on our board. Matter of fact, I just need to take those tips and then run at the next time
It's
because I
easier.
agree
It's
with
easier
what you
than you think.
said.
It was a hard, steep learning curve. It was a bitter battle, right? The
Yeah.
president that I replaced walked out the door. I have never
Mm,
spoken to him since. He didn't hand anything over. He didn't
mm.
show me like where the keys are. He just packed his stuff and left. So
Oh my
there
goodness.
was a learning curve, but now, like anything, it's like starting a business, like pushing your car run out of gas. You start to push it, you're like, I can't move this thing, and then it moves an inch, and then it moves a foot, and next thing you know, you just keep a hand on it, and it's moving. But it's hard to get going, but it's easy to keep going.
You know what? I love that. And I think that that's a powerful segue into everything because when you started your journey, I listened to a little bit of your story. Like you came from, just to make sure I got it, you were in the military and then you moved from the military and you started, was it a direct sales type job? And during that time, you had one child, you were married, and then another one on the way and you had to learn how to quickly like sell. And in that time, what I, from listening to you, I heard you say on a previous podcast, you were saying that during that year, you made 6 figures. Like, how do you overcome something like that? Like going from military where you're typically not taught sales negotiation and all of that. And if you are taught sales, it is in a different way to going direct sales and really like you saying, was it that inch by inch kind of moment or what had to take place for you to really step into that? And then when I say that, step into it from a place to where you're not in almost like survival mode from the because if you're in survival mode and you're making sales, it comes off and it can be where you're that one where you're being very manipulative or
Yes.
it's like you're that sleazy salesperson. So how do you find a balance between trying to survive and make a sale, but then also overcoming that learning curve? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to be in sales, so that helped. I did it intentionally. I resigned from the military when my time was up, and I made plans to get into sales. Um, and I started as a stockbroker, and 6 months later, I was unemployed. Ended up in a 3-year lawsuit with them. Crazy story. So I was unemployed when my second son was born, just 6, 7 months after leaving the military. And so I replied to a classified ad to sell mobile homes in Mobile, Alabama, because it paid $20 a week more than unemployment.
Mm.
And so, so that was late April, early May. I started with them, and in the next 12 months, I made $100,000 exactly. It's about 175 grand a day. And by the end of June, I was given my own store. And the interesting thing, the company I went to work for had a very well-defined sales process. And so I just followed it. Too many people, entrepreneurs and salespeople, they want to be creative. They want to be cute and creative. If you're a fan of the Super Bowl, years ago during the dot-com boom, especially, there were all the craziest high-tech ads, right? From Radio Shack to these startups, wolves running on the field and attacking people, like crazy stuff. Oh, that's a really good commercial. The Radio Shack went out of business. And for the life of me, I can't tell you the name of that company with the wolves. They went out of business. So I think sometimes we get too cute. We get too creative. because we don't want to buckle down. Buckle down and do the work. If you look at like any professional athlete, from LeBron to Michael Jordan to Kobe, look at golfers, look at, Larry Bird, is well known for his work ethic and just showing up early and staying after it. They did boring things, out of the limelight, because rookies will practice until they get something right. Professionals will practice until they can't get it wrong. Okay. And I don't know, I haven't heard others do as much smack talking, but like Larry Bird, I just follow these different threads, and he's the most unbelievable smack talker, I think, in the history of smack talking. Like, what? He'd call you out. He's like, I'm gonna go off on you for 40, or hey, I'm gonna wait till you get right in front of me and I'm gonna launch this, I'm gonna hit a three. I mean, like, what? Yeah. So to be that good at that level requires a lot of work, but it's boring work. And so most of us just aren't willing to put in the repetitions and to master it. But, getting back to sales, it's like I followed that process. So that I had like 5 other peers in sales with me there. And a couple of guys weren't making enough money to pay their rent. And they had been there longer than me, so it was all in their attitude. It was in their work ethic. It was their unwillingness to stick to the script, because people always say, oh, I don't want to follow a script. I feel too bound up. It's too cold. It's just not me. I just like to go with the flow. It's like, what are you talking about? How much money does The Rock make? Right? About $60 million a year. And what does The Rock do for a living? He reads a script. Right? But he makes it believable. But we're all living in a script, right? Hey, LaDondra, how you doing? What do you say?
My roof. No, like I told you at the beginning.
But no, I say, hey, how are you? And you say,
yeah, good.
That's good to hear. How's everything going? Are you getting ready for the holidays?
No, I haven't got there.
Right? But you know what I'm saying? We all, yes. It's a script.
Yes.
Right? Hi, thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line as our menu has changed. That's a script. Now, how does that script make you feel? Right? Terrible. But we all say, we love our customers. You're our number one asset. Our job is to make our lives easier for our customers. But then they don't follow through. Okay? But life is one big play. And so if you don't know, there's an old saying in poker, right? If you don't know who the chump is at the table, it's you. Okay? Everything we do, when you walk into the grocery store, most grocery stores have the produce on the right, because in America, we drive on the right, we walk on the right. So we enter on the right, we turn right, we get some produce, then we feel good about our health decisions. So now we're more likely to put some junk food in our cart. But whether the produce is on the right or the left, the meat and the dairy is always in the back. Why is that? Because we will walk through the entire store to get the meat and the eggs and the milk. And that gives the grocery store more exposure to you to get more sales. And then when you come to the checkout line, what is right there at the 3-foot level?
Oh, I didn't forgot, because I'm doing online shopping now. Ooh.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay, think back to when you had little ones and you're walking through the grocery store and you're getting ready to check out. What is at the 3-foot level?
Candy and toys.
Candy, toys.
The little cars. My son.
Mommy can't get a car. Mommy can't get a chocolate. Mommy can't get a soda.
Yeah.
Right? And what's at the 4-foot level, right? Cosmopolitan, TV Guide, National Enquirer. Those are all upsells. Those are all there on purpose. So you say, oh, I don't want to follow a script. We live in a script.
Yes.
Okay? So what you need to understand is we live in a script, so you control the script. You control the dialogue. Okay. Because if you don't, it's somebody else is going to do it to you. So your prospect either follows your selling process or they follow their buying process.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay. And we know in the Bible, right? When two or more gather in my name, there I am. Well, when two or more humans meet, somebody makes a sale.
That's so good.
Okay. So, and regardless of what it is, hey, Ladondra, where do you want to go to lunch today? You may say, oh, I don't care. Okay. I want Mexican food. Okay. So I made the sale. I say, hey, where do you want to go to lunch today? You go, oh, I'm feeling like seafood. I had seafood yesterday. How about Italian? No, I had Italian too. How about a burger? All right, we're going to negotiate. Well, that's not really a sale. Yes, it is a sale. It may be inconsequential, but you need to understand human nature. When we come together, we're posturing, we're negotiating, we're sizing one another up. Okay. And so if you just show up and think, oh, I'm just going to dazzle them with my personality, maybe you will. But statistically speaking, you're only going to get along naturally with 25 to 35, 40% of the world, just from a personality standpoint. So more than half of the world, you got to work at it to get along with them.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so that's where professional sales come in. But professional selling is so misunderstood. Like if I ask you, and I do this in all of my training, I'll ask everybody in the audience, I'm like, when I say the word salesman, salesperson, used car salesman, what word comes to mind? Give me some adjectives.
The fast talker, the slick, got their own agenda. Those are the main things. Yeah,
Yes.
and so I be on guard. Like, you're not gonna talk faster than me, sir. Not today,
They're
because I
always
know what
they're
I
always
want.
they're always negative
Yeah,
words, right? But I'll
yeah,
hold that. I write that one beforehand, and so I'll get
mhm,
pushy, you know.
yep,
So all these negative words, but that's what we think of as sales. And so now we're an entrepreneur, and we're like, oh, I'm not in sales because we think sales equals pushy, sales equals agenda. At the end of the day, true sales is about serving.
yes,
Okay, so can I connect with you? I mean, Jesus had to sell. The apostles had to sell.
yes,
They had to sell their message. They had to get people risked their lives to come hear them. They risked their lives to follow them. There were no churches until Constantinople. So hundreds of years, because Romans would kill you for gathering. So they gathered in
mm-hmm,
private and home. They risked their lives to come together. Okay. So
yeah,
it's like, that's some pretty good sales. Hey, you
mm-hmm,
want to come follow me and do all this? What do I get? If you do it right, you get eternal salvation, but you might be boiled in oil before you get there. Yeah, sign me up. What?
yeah,
So so what is sales? I mean, it's communication, it's persuasion, it's finding a need and filling it, right? Like, how do you feel about your life? Do you feel like it has no meaning? Do you feel like it's a struggle, and yet it has no purpose? Do
mm-hmm,
you really believe you just come from dust and you return to dust and that's it? Or you think there's something bigger?
yeah,
Do you think all of this is by accident, just a mere coincidence? A bunch of sticks fell, a bunch of amoebas split and were struck by lightning and became us?
yeah,
You think God had a hand in it? How do you get to know that God? How do you think your life would be different if you knew God, and B, if you knew his plan for you? Oh, okay. Like, is that sales? I don't know. I guess technically, but it's like, does it help me or does it help them? Right. So
yeah,
that's what I help people understand about selling. It's because you always hear, oh, it's all about people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Now, because we
yes,
hate
mm-hmm,
sales,
mm-hmm,
we spend all of our time on being known and liked. So
mm-hmm.
we become professional visitors. Now,
Oh, that's so good.
but the reality is it's 1% known, 1% liked, 98% trusted. If
Mhm.
I trust you, say I barely know you, maybe I don't even like you, seen some stuff posted online, but you're trustworthy. You deliver the goods. I can count on you. I got a roof leak, I got my fence knocked down. You have a good price. You warranty it.
Yeah.
Your crew shows up on time. They don't steal anything. You don't trample all my bushes. So I trust you. You're
Mhm.
going to get my business.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to focus on building the trust. Being known and liked, of course, it helps. I don't want to be disliked, but we have to be trusted. So does the marketplace, does the world see you as an authority? Are you an expert? Do you add value to my life in a professional setting? And if you do, you're going to get my business.
What do you feel like is the starting place to gaining that trust? Because here's a few things. You hit you hit it on the nail. And one of the questions that I had written down, because like I told you before, our audience is 90% women, and women are great at building relationships, but they're not necessarily, we are not necessarily great at asking for the sale. Like we focus on being liked and being all these things, but then it's like at some point, why did you do all of that? Like, and when are you going to move the needle to the next phase
Yeah.
to converting that person? So where's the starting place for that? And when you're having that sales conversation, where do you start, and then where do you take that from relationship building to conversion?
So the relationship happens way before we ever speak to one another, right? Our reputation is going to precede us.
Yes.
Our digital online footprint, we all Google one another as soon as we hear a name.
Yes.
So that happens way before. That's why I say I've got a program called Make Every Sale. And the point is to make any sale, you must make every sale.
Mm.
There's a bunch of little bitty sales that happen continuously, okay, and consecutively that build up. And so let's talk about men and women. And I'll be stereotypical just to make a
Yep.
point. But
Mm-hmm.
men in general, let me ask you, have you ever told your husband, have you come in like you had a bad day, something frustrated you, and you're like, honey, I don't need you to solve this. I just got to get it off my chest.
Yeah, perfectly. You did it right with the hand and everything. Yeah.
Men, we want to fix things.
Yeah.
So male salespeople, we get into trouble because as soon as you say one thing, well, I think about getting my fence. Okay, here's what you do. You need the pressure treated fence. You need this kind of lumber. You need this kind of you need, this kind of footing. It needs to be this height. This treatment. You're like, dude, I'm just thinking about it. We
Mm-hmm.
jump into solving in sales mode.
Mm-hmm.
Women are more empathetic, more about social creatures and connecting and the relationship, and so we'll let you talk. You're like, my fence got knocked down. I'm getting fined by my HOA. I have the insurance. I've got the money. I need to get this done. Like, you're ready. You'll pay whatever because it's insurance. It's free money. And they'll talk. Well, have you considered the impact on the yard, and what about pressure treatment, and do you want natural? And I mean, they want to take their time. You're like, take my money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've got to find that happy medium. And look, when you do it right, the sale becomes easy and obvious. And the prospect will ask, how do we get started?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but what we have to do, we have to get our prospect to admit that they have a pain. We have to get them to admit they want to address it now. Okay. And they have to quantify the pain. Okay. Because most salespeople, they'll talk. Okay. So I'll come see you. I'll look at your fence. I'm like, okay, I see this, blah, blah, blah. Let me take some measurements. Okay. Hey, thanks for having me over. I'll go back to the office and I'll send a proposal over. Okay. Thank you. Most people just accept that. Then they go back and then they worry, and they're like, they're looking around. Oh, that's a nice neighborhood. I bet they could pay $40,000 for this fence. Who pays $40,000? Well, I mean, we could do it for 10, but man, we'd be leaving money on the table. But if we're too high, they'll just say no, and they'll go get a new quote. And I just spent 2 hours out there and then back to the office. And man, I can't waste half a day and not get this. Days and weeks will go by before they ever send a proposal. Okay. In the meantime, you're like, I like this guy, but I got to get a quote. I'm getting fined by my HOA. I got to get this thing done. The holidays are coming up. So now you call and get another bid, and the guy comes out and says, hey, okay, boom, boom. Yeah, you're looking at, it's between 15 to 18,000. We can start next week. And the variance is just, if you want this kind of hinge, or if you want, this kind of post, or we can do top. So what do you, yeah, I like nicer. Okay. So yeah, 18K. Okay, fine. Let's do it. So because they address the elephant in the room, you're like, let's rock and roll. So we have to get them talking. So, hey, so what's up with this fence? What's going on? Did you install it? Do you have insurance to cover this? Oh, you're getting fined. Okay. Have you gotten other bids? Yeah, I've gotten other bids. May I look at them? Well, I don't really trust you. Well, if you don't trust me, I mean, I shouldn't give you a quote anyway. But if you've got other bids, I can look them over. We can compare apples to apples. Okay. Here's 12, here's 18, here's 40. And then so I can look at it and say, well, 12's a little low. Here's why. They're going to come in, they're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. They're going to ask them if they're using this kind of wood or this kind of wood. You'll see they're using the lower grade. And maybe I have samples and go, look here, this is fine. This will work. It's only going to hold up for about 3 years. This one, yeah, it's 15% more, but it's going to last 3 times longer. Oh my gosh. So we start talking about things, right? Like, do you paint it? Do you stain it? Okay, if you this amount of footage, it's going to probably be about $3,000 to stain. You only have to stain ours every 8 years instead of every 3. So right there, you're going to save, almost $9,000 over 8 or 9 years. Oh wow. So now you can quantify and justify. So when I say 18 grand instead of 12, but you save 9 and blah, 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 and the warranty longer lasting, like, that's an easy decision. But
Yeah, that's a very, very good example. And I've actually walked through this example this year with a guy who, because again, we're in Texas, we got all kinds of stuff with weather that just be happening. And so this was with not the roof at the office, the roof at the house. And at this time, like, we had roofers, like, because our neighborhood got hit pretty bad, and so we had roofers just coming out of the wazoo, just go knocking on my door, knocking on my door. So at one point, I'm like, I'm not answering the door no more. And anyway, there was one who he came and he built a very good relationship. I had on the day that the storm happened, somebody came up to the door. He was the first one, and I talked to him for a bit, and he seemed good. But then I talked to one more, and then that's when I was done answering the door. But from that one, what he did, he told me, he was like, well, have you talked to anybody else? He asked questions. And I was like, yeah, it was this other guy. He came. I told him that's not my department. That's my husband's department. But I listened to his little pitch and all the things. Now, he was like, well, can I set up some time with you and your husband, all the things? And I was like, maybe. I don't know. We're busy. He was so patient. And he was like, and he kept asking questions until he got me to the point to where I was like, I made time. I made time. And then even when we had that conversation, because I'm the feisty one in our relationship, me and my husband. And so I'm like, we not doing this if they're not doing that and all the things. And so um I'm going and I'm asking all my little questions. And then he came down to it and he said, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. This other company, they're probably they'll probably give you a bid that's going to be cheaper, but let me tell you, here's a few of the differences. And he talked about the wood, the type of shingles, he talked about all the things, the longevity, and then he also talked about, he used the, we don't cut corners. This company over here, there are some things that, just from research, and then also walking along with my, previous customers who don't go with him anymore. There's corners that they cut, and that's fine. He wasn't bashing them either. He said that's fine. But if you want that, then here's what that's going to look like. But here's what I'll do for you. Let's compare apples to apples. If you're okay with it, I'm not going to try to out-talk you on anything. Um, let's just go, if you're up for it when the adjuster come out, I'd love to come and, just inspect and all of that, and I'll give you what I have, and he can give you what he have, and then we can just take it from there. Instantly, my guard went down. And I'm like, because now I didn't feel like he was trying to sell me. I felt like he was trying to partner with me in doing what's in the best interest for us at our house. And it felt like he was educating instead of pushing his own agenda. And so, what do you think? Because how do you think that you get to that? Because you've been in this for a while. And that's like one of the biggest mistakes that salespeople make, is we just go in and just go to talking. And either you're over talking the sale, you're not asking enough questions, you have your own agenda. Like, what do? You talked about a process. Is there a certain process that prepares you to be a good salesperson, maybe to take them from, how I wanted to say, from cold to cold. I mean, cold to sold. What does that look like?
Yeah. Have you heard of that saying, the ABCs of selling, always be closing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's from a movie in the 90s called Glengarry Glen Ross. Alec Baldwin played that role. And it was about some sales guys, in a high pressure environment. But it was literally, it was a play that was performed in the 80s. This guy, David Mamet, wrote this play. He's my dad's age, mid to late 70s. And it was based on his experience working in a real estate office, I think in Chicago, in like the 60s. So the salesmen that were acting like this were, 40 and 50 years old in the 60s. So this is literally an 80-year-old tactic at least. So in other words, it's crap.
Okay.
Always be closing. No, I say, like, the new ABCs of selling are always be curious.
Mm.
Okay. Be asking questions, always be courteous, always be consistent. And one of the biggies is always be concise. We, as the salespeople, like a doctor, the doctor cannot diagnose you unless they ask questions and listen. And why do we want a second opinion from our doctor? It's that bedside manner. If they rush you, if they seem like they're just not interested, like they show up as a know-it-all, you're like, I don't trust the guy. I'm going to go get a second opinion. When they sit and listen and look at you, they take notes. Tell me about that. What about this food allergy? What about, okay, how did you sprain your ankle? What was your physical therapy like? Okay. And you feel heard and understood. Now you trust their diagnosis and their prescription. So as salespeople, our number one job is to prospect. Okay. It is not to sell. Selling is just like weight loss. It's a lagging indicator. Okay. If let's say, there's a big dance, a big ball coming up, you want to lose 20 pounds in 90 days. Okay. When you step on that scale in 90 days, it's a lagging indicator. It documents if you did the hard work every day leading up to it. Do I fill this up with Kool-Aid, or Coke or water? Do I have grapes with my lunch or chips or French fries? Do I have maybe a little bit of Jello or a big triple scoop of ice cream? All those little, it seems like nothing, but one Coke a day, for 90 days is, I think you put on like 5 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 pounds from one thing. So they're lagging indicators. So I can't force you to buy from me, but I can force myself to wake up every day and put myself out there, to call prospects, to email prospects, to mail prospects, and put myself in position to engage, to find someone that I can help, to ask them good questions. And the prospect goes, man, I feel good about this. You ask good questions. In an ideal world, we ask questions that our prospects cannot answer. Okay, because if you know the answers, you don't need me. That's why, like on my website, I have not only my FAQs, right, the frequently asked questions, but the should ask questions. That's what our prospects don't know that they don't know. And that's how we differentiate ourselves from the competition. Okay. And so you have to know how to engage them. And so, but yes, there's a process. And in a way, I came about this naturally, but I didn't know what I was doing. And so then I hired a coach back in 2006, and he helped me do deliberately what I was kind of doing naturally, but not always consistently. Okay. And so prospects, just being curious, and also we're a little bit distrustful. Like you said, your guard is up. You want to pepper that prospect, that salesperson, with a lot of questions. You got a couple of quotes. So like, tell me about the post. How deep are the footings? What kind of wood is it? And how is it, termites and pressure treated? And how is it for staining? And on and on and on. And boom, 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 boom. A guy's just getting rocked, and he can't keep up. And so so the process is to take control of the conversation. The art is how you do it. Okay. Because you call me, you can be asking all the questions, and I can just show up like a jerk and go, look, this is a lot of money, and the roof and fence. And this is a man's world. This is all manly stuff. So where's the man of the house? I need to talk to him, because I don't give women quotes.
Boy, the door is going to get shut really quick. Oh, man.
Now, but I do know that in a household, women make something like 84 to 87% of the buying decisions. Okay. But they will bounce it off of their spouse. You may make the decision, but you're going to talk with your spouse. Okay. So the art of that would be, hey, I see you're running things around here. Hey, just like my house. Like, I wear the pants in my family, but my wife, she picks the colors, right? Kind of like, oh yeah, that's okay. So look, I feel you. So look, but here's the deal. At the end of the day, this is a big decision, right? I mean, are you going to make this on your own, or will you bounce it off your spouse? Do you have like a neighbor, a dad, a favorite uncle, run things by them and make sure this is all squared away? Oh, well, for sure. I'm going to talk to my husband. And I do have an uncle. As a matter of fact, is he local? No, he's out of town. Can we FaceTime him? What?
That's
hey,
good.
let's get his opinion. I want, if I just give you the quote and leave, they're going to have questions that you can't answer, right? I am the expert. I'm the roofer. I'm the fence guy. You're doing some research, but and your husband may ask questions like, I don't know. I don't know about the material. I don't know. Is it recycled? I don't know if it's this, that, or the other. And then, so now it just delays the process. So I need to know who makes the decisions, but how I ask that's the art. That's what takes time. Okay. And some of it you go with the flow, but like I'll role play this with all my trainees, and so they can be looking forward. And I don't really want to overcome objections. I'd rather address them before they ever come up.
That's good.
Okay. So when we meet, hey, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for, you have a lovely home. Okay. You're getting a quote on this. Well, let me ask you something. Are you getting multiple bids? Fantastic. How are you going to decide the best way? Are you bouncing this off of a spouse? Do you have a friend, or do you have experience in the industry? 'Cause I don't want to downplay that, right? Just because you're a woman, maybe you're a roofer. I don't know. Women roof, women fix cars, right? Women build cabinets and paint, and you might say, yeah, I got 20 years experience. I grew up in it. My dad did it. I do it. Oh, well, cool. What questions can I answer for you? What are you looking for? What kind of wood? Blah, blah. Man, you rattle off. Say, fantastic. Boom, boom. I can do this, that, and the other. You're looking at 15 to 18K, depending on this, that, and the other. Y'all want that? Okay, 18. I can do it for 18. Start tomorrow. Yeah. So if you're truly the pro, let's do the deal. Right. So it's, you got to practice that. Right. Because people get nervous. The first time you do something, it's nerve wracking. It takes a while to kind of calm down and settle in. But when you're truly there to serve, when you don't put pressure and it's like, I got to close this deal. No, you don't have to close this deal. I don't care if you're about to get your lights cut off, lose your car. I don't care. You're not going to be boiled in oil. You're not going to be thrown to the alligators. You're going to get through this. But if you show up, like my dad says, if you think you're desperate, you are. Okay. And if you show up to that meeting desperate, frazzled, you won't be able to give it away. They say, oh, dogs can sense fear. Humans can sense fear.
Yes.
Way better. And now, because here's what happens. Okay. You come to see me, and you want to buy an iPhone. And so I am Johnny on the spot. I'm so glad you came here. We're the best iPhone company in the world. Look, this iPhone is the best thing. It comes with the case. And look at this camera and these cameras and the light and applications, and it weighs this much and it charges this much. And you go, that's beautiful. How much is it? And I go, one sec. It's, the holidays are coming up. There's a sale. That demeanor changes. And right there, you go, in the back of your mind, you're like, you can't put your finger on it. Most people can't put a finger on it. They're like, you know what? It's okay. You got my info. You want to just email it to me? Just text me the info. Oh, yeah. Look, I'm going to find the coupon. And are you military? Are you a small business or AAA? Okay, yeah, I'll run all those and I'll shoot them to you. And you get in the car, you're calling your husband, you go, was that weird? Yeah, that was weird. Like, he was like so confident, but then like he flipped the switch. Yeah, that dude, he's not confident. A confused mind says no.
Well, as you were talking about that, for me, like how you just position that, for me, what happened in my mind is the first thing I would be thinking is, why are you telling me this? Because you never got permission to engage with me in that way, to tell me all that stuff. So I honestly don't care. So why are you talking to me?
Yeah, well, and I was being extreme. Like, you
It
came in the
happens
shop
like that.
and
Yeah.
I'm just super confident in everything I talk about, but then I get weird on price.
Yeah.
I should
Yeah.
be super confident on price. That's when I got to make eye contact with you and say, say these phones run from, $900 up to $1,500.
Yeah.
The $1,500, 1 terabyte and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. The $900, this, and this. Most people kind of settle in the middle. 512, you get this warranty, and 24 equal payments of no interest. Which one interests you? So just maintain eye contact, tell you why it is that price. And you're like, oh, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, I'll go with the 512. You know what? I'm doing more video. Let's go with the 1 terabyte. Fantastic. But we don't practice that. We don't have confidence in the value that we bring. So we shrink. We shrink. Remember, when 2 people meet, a sale is made. So you ask the price, I shrink, your frame swallows me. Now
Mm-hmm.
your buying process is in control instead of my sales process.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, here's a few things as we kind of wrap things up that I took from this. I hope that everybody you were taking what was being put out, because what I picked up is, listen, you're talking to a pro. And so with a pro, it can seem like when they're saying something, it seems so simplified, but that's because they've mastered it at a level that there's a mastery where it just comes out with flow. But here's some things that I need you to know. First and foremost, there were some things on that ABC of sales, like always be curious. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of the sale because we're not, before we even get enter into the room, because we haven't engaged with a curious mindset. Always be curious, always be thinking about what's in it for them, how can you serve them, and not about making it about yourself. There was also something very important that he said, and I want you guys to take this, is um to make any sale is that you have to make every sale. And there's a process to that, and understanding that process. And then there was two last things that I want to point out is that he said, should we need to create something to where the questions that they should be asking, like thinking about things that they don't even know to ask. But even with that, that builds trust and credibility. Yeah, have you ever thought about blah, blah, blah? Well, no, I have not thought about that. And those are ways where it's building that trust, is pulling somebody's guard down. Those are masterful techniques. And so I don't want you guys to like scroll over all of that. And then even more, the consistency piece. At the top of this, I asked, like, what's the trick like to all of this? And he's like, get in the game. I'm putting it in my own words. Get in the game, get you a process down, and be consistent. And many times we don't want to get in the game and be consistent. We want to swirl around because of fear, doubt, all the things that come through our own mind. But what if there was something beautiful on the other side? And I think that is beautiful on the other side is a transformed life, because you showed up, you stayed consistent, you did the work, you served, you were willing to get out of the way of somebody else's opportunity to invest in themselves and make a decision for themselves. You educated them enough. And so I hope that you were blessed by this, because there was a lot there. And what I'm going to suggest is that you go back and you listen, because there was a lot of wisdom and nuggets that was dropped. So, Wes, someone who is they want to learn more about the work that you do and how you walk people through this, because I know that you said that there's training you do with mentees and all of that. Where can people find more information and start that journey with you?
So my website is pretty simple. It's fixerwes.com. And start looking around, right? All my social media is there if you prefer to do your research there. My inner circle is accessible from there at the top left. That's my live training every single week. There's on-demand content from that. You can join weekly. You can join by the quarter. But I give a lot of content, but I don't always encourage people to go through it. I encourage them to show up live, to show up in their group and ask their questions every day so I can answer what's relevant to them right now, right? Very few of us need another course, another workshop, another conference, another book. We probably won't read it. If we read it, we'll probably not pay attention. Even if we pay attention, are we going to apply what we're learning? But when you are going through your own issue, I can help you in that exact situation. Then it makes sense, right? So, and once you get some wins and have some confidence, then go through the training. I got 41 videos and, I wrote a book. And but then those things will start making sense.
Yeah.
Right? But in the beginning, you need some wins. So show up and engage, right? Ask questions in the group, show up live on the calls, ask your questions, and get some wins, and then because success breeds success, so let's get you some some quick wins.
Okay. I love that. I love that. It was fixerwest.com.
That's it.
And you talked about it's an inner circle for the live training. Is that correct?
That's it.
Okay, perfect. Well, Wes, thank you so much for being here and for the wisdom and just for being sold out in service because that was felt and we're all better for it. Y'all, until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye for now. Did that episode feel juicy or what? If so, please do me a favor and take 30 seconds to write a review. Your review helps us to spread the mission of creating generational wealth around the world. And if you tag me on IG stories, I'll be sure to reshare the love. And don't forget to join our Kingdom Collaborators Network, where we're coming together to intentionally collaborate to grow our business. Until next time, remember, for with Christ, nothing is impossible.